In the 4th year of her reign, Queen Selene, more commonly referred to as the Snake Queen by her unfortunate subjects, was faced with guiding her kingdom through a particularly devastating crisis. A plague began to devour her people. It started slowly, affecting the poorest members of society, those living in dismal squalor with no access to clean water, regular meals, or medical assistance. Although Selene had herself been born into just such circumstances, she cared little for the plight of her former peers. In fact, she considered the plague, known as the crown virus on account of the crown-shaped welts that sprouted on the flesh of the infected, to be rather helpfully purging the poor. Her advisors implored her to take action, telling her that unless they cured the spread immediately, the virus would only grow more ravenous and could well affect the nobles before long. Selene forbade them from discussing the topic further and took no action until, as predicted, the crown virus did indeed infect the nobles. More specifically, the nobles who paid the highest taxes in her kingdom. The taxes paid by the nobles were what provided the jewels and fine clothing with which Selene liked to adorn herself. At last, she decided that the virus must be contained. Her advisors suggested enlisting more medical personnel, doctors and nurses, funding research into possible cures, and enforcing a curfew throughout the kingdom. All sensible suggestions, but expensive. Selene did not need to ponder for long. After all, she was roused to action by the thought of cutting back on her luxuries. It would hardly make sense to sacrifice those same luxuries to save the sick and dying. She opted instead to call in the plague doctors. Doctors, in name only, of course. Their job was to record deaths, dispose of corpses, and to observe the spread of the virus. They did not heal, nor even help to alleviate symptoms. Soon their presence became inextricably linked to death, sinister and ominous instead of caring and helpful. Unsurprisingly, the plague doctors did little to help slow the now rampant virus. It was difficult to determine how the crown virus spread from victim to victim. At first, poisonous water was suspected, so the people took to drinking beer instead of water. But still, the virus spread. Next, stray dogs and cats were blamed. They must surely be the carriers of such a vile disease, so all strays were hunted down and slaughtered. But still, the virus spread. It must, said the learned doctors, be miasma. The very air itself carried the virus. Indeed, those who shared air with the sick, staying in the same dwelling, seemed to inevitably contract the illness. Thinking that this must be the case, the Queen had a huge glass box built around her chambers, so that no toxic miasma could reach her. It seemed to work, and Selene did not fall ill, but as time passed, she became more and more restless. Although it was not her habit to roam far from her palace, being sealed behind glass made her feel as though she were some kind of exhibit on display to any who might choose to visit. She began to loathe her glass enclosure. With little to do except pace back and forth and think, another solution soon presented itself to the Snake Queen. It was so perfectly elegant that she wondered at not having thought of it sooner. She should not be the one trapped in a glass prison. The sick should be the ones kept away from the healthy. At once she gave the order. All sick were to be sealed behind a wall in the poorest street of the capital city, along with their families and those with whom they shared a home. Any who developed symptoms thereafter would be likewise deposited behind the wall. All land and property belonging to the condemned would be seized by the crown. As those of you with devious minds might already have guessed, there were some unfortunate nobles disposed of in this way who seemed to show few, if any, symptoms of the virus, but who possessed choice areas of land. There were even a few advisors with no property to their names, but who had irked Queen Celine in some minor way, who were visited by her plague doctors and labelled infectious. As for Queen Celine, she was delighted to be freed from her glass confines once more. She did, however, take to wearing a veil over her face at all times. The crown virus soon dwindled and died away along with the unfortunate people sealed away in that dreadful street, which seemed to prove that it was indeed the very air itself that bore the deadly virus. Her veil served to protect Celine from any further toxic vapours, and also helped her to disguise her increasingly wan pallor and fading hair colour. As could be expected, the citizens of her kingdom were unhappy with the course chosen by their ruler. So was the first seed of discontent sown in the hearts of the people. It would not be the last. But for now, the Snake Queen continued to rule. She had many more atrocious deeds to enact before the tide would truly turn against her. There's a link to the music in the description. Thank you so much for watching.